So my name is Caroline and I am the Secretary General of Engineers Without Borders in Sweden. And I'm very happy to see so many of you here participating in our Sustainable Engineering Week, where we today have the pleasure of discussing a little bit with Astrid Friborg, who has a PhD in Biomedical Sciences. She's a business strategist, innovation expert, and an entrepreneur with over 20 years of experience in leadership roles. And she has also been coaching deep tech and impact startups. And today she's working as a managing partner at Transformative, where she's helping organizations to achieve a profitable and business-driven sustainable transformation of the core business. So I think we will hear a bit more about the key factors for starting and scaling an impact-driven business. And we will also get a practical dive into how to build sustainability into your startup from the first day, ensuring that it remains truly impact-driven as it grows ahead. And also how to avoid common pitfalls and create an impact-driven startup that is sustainable in every sense, from business model to governance. Welcome, Astrid.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you for the introduction. And it's great to see so many people here. And today I will guide you through what I see are the most important factors to consider, whether you have just started your entrepreneurial journey or whether you're thinking of starting something or whether you're an experienced entrepreneur. So with this, start to share my presentation. I hope you all can see it. So just a quick background of who I am. I have also been running my own startup called Berries by Astrid. I invented the world's first smoothie vending machine. And I basically took that from an idea on a piece of paper to doing the whole journey as a solo entrepreneur with employees and investors to launch on the market and have customers in Sweden. So these smoothie vending machines could be seen in Stockholm and in Lund, for example. And then I have been a startup coach, paying it forward to other startups, mainly with physical products, but also some SaaS companies, B2C and B2B. And Transformative, what do we do? So we have decided to work with medium-sized and large-sized companies, guiding leadership teams and a board towards a goal. So we have now focused on how to become sustainable at the core business and how to implement this, because it's one thing to do sustainability in your company for compliance reasons, but we see that there is, in order to become fully sustainable, you need to integrate the business strategy and the sustainability strategy. So we try to help companies achieve this, and also, and not only focusing on the strategy, but also making sure that they land this in the end. The implementation phase can be very complicated, and we're covering most industries with backgrounds, and we're covering most sustainability areas as well. So that's a little bit about me and what I do, but that's not the focus of today's webinar. So today I will guide you through some different aspects of how to run a successful startup, focusing on sustainability, because sustainability, as I see it, is a key for being future-proof as a startup, and also, which is very natural to me, but not to everybody, that doing something meaningful for the planet is so crucial. I think that if you look from the broader perspective, you need to think sustainability from day one. So I will guide you through 3 different parts, and the first one is designing for sustainability, what you need to think about. The next one is funding challenges, what to think of when you meet with investors, or do you need investors? or can you find other ways to fund your startup? And make sure that you have a diverse company from the start. I will guide you through also some of these points. So when launching a new product or service to the market, first thing I would do is to consider, is this business idea sustainable at the core, or is it not? Why? What is the why behind we are doing this? Is it to make improvements in a current market? Is it to make a shift, to introduce something radical? Or what is our goal with this? There are, of course, different ways to approach this, but I have advised a number of impact startups, and they are driven by impact at the core, and they have most often found a solution to a problem which is rather significant. It can be within medtech, for example, that has a real impact. If they succeed, it will have a real impact on not only the quality of life, but also saving lives. And so it's contributing to more than one Agenda 2030 goals. It can also be some new innovation that can make the market turn from using fossil fuels to other energy sources, for example, electric vehicles in new fields. But most of the times when I meet these fantastic entrepreneurs with a really great drive and really inspiring product or service, they sometimes have not thought about the rest of the company when it comes to sustainability. And what do I mean by the rest? Well, for example, if you are developing an, let's say, electric boat, but there are, let's say, 4 male founders that are all white, maybe you haven't thought about this aspect, but and maybe it's not so important, you think, in the beginning, because you're only very small startup, and what difference does it make? And we're a bunch of friends, and we just happen to come up with this idea, but you're not representing all the parts of the population that might be in your target group when you launch the product. Or, for example, you have developed a really fantastic machine to analyze samples that will help the planet. For example, you get rid of chemicals in the sewage system. But how is this machine constructed? Does it have plastic or steel parts that, well, in the prototype stage, it doesn't have really a footprint. But if you make millions of these machines that you intend to do in your business case, because you really want to make an impact and you want to place these machines on the sewage systems all around the globe, well, then you may have to consider the life cycle assessment. What impact does my material have on the planet? So here I want you to think about what will be the consequences when we launch a new product on the market. I don't know if you all are aware of the 9R principles in circular economy, but it's a waste hierarchy that when you design a product, think of, do you really need this product on the market? Is it really something that motivates that you introduce something of virgin materials? Do you contribute to more consumption, or can you reduce consumption by introducing your innovation? And when you have designed your innovation, does it have separate materials that you can easily separate at the end of the product life? Have you done a life cycle assessment so that you can see what is the impact of this product? Can we change to any other materials? Instead of plastic, can we use something else? And so on. And can we also come up with circular business model? For example, instead of the ordinary buy and sell, can we have a business model that is renting out this machinery, or do we plan for an aftermarket? How do we do this then to enhance the purchase of second-hand products of our own product line? These are some of the things that I recommend that you think about when designing your product, so that you're not carried away by thinking we have a sustainable business idea, it will solve a problem, but instead you actually contribute to more shipping, more virgin material use, and use of fossil material. So going back to what's our focus, I will guide you now to the next one, which is the funding challenge. So when you meet an investor, if you have a startup, you probably have met a lot of investors by now, most of them maybe business angels, and they all pose very difficult questions to you, and you are in urgent need of financing. So maybe after many no's, you tend to accept the investor that says yes to invest in you, but maybe you no longer care about that investor's profile. What do you know about the investor? Do they have a sustainability focus? Do you have knowledge about their long-term goals? I can sadly say that there are numerous examples of startups that have been marrying into very difficult investor relationships that have ended in maybe a successful buyout for the entrepreneurs themselves, that they did a really good exit. But what about the brand? What about the product or the service afterwards? Did it become a monster? Did it become something just to squeeze out the money from consumers? Are consumers the product? Are they being used? Sometimes founders have had a really good initiative, but in the long run, when they lose control of the company, the investor's focus is just to enhance the profitability and to sell with the highest return to the next investor. And then before all of this happens, make sure that you know who you marry, so to say, because having that contract signed with investors, it's very hard to back out of a bad investor relation. So I always advise that to entrepreneurs that not only should the investor understand your business, because if you don't understand your business, it can often lead to misunderstandings or misconception of how long the time plan should be, for example, or what is a realistic goal to reach. If the investor, for example, doesn't have background in deep tech and you have a deep tech product, maybe they are a tech investor that has themselves have been a SaaS entrepreneur and expect that you deliver your product at the same time period as a SaaS product would be delivered, then that it's very hard to maintain a good relationship if the expectations are so far apart, because starting a deep tech startup, most of the times it takes a very, very long time to reach the market because it's very much more complicated and demands a lot more money. So first of all, they should understand your business, they should contribute, be active as investors and not passive, and think of what do they contribute with in terms of knowledge or network. Can they open doors to us? Can they open doors to customers? Can they open doors to other investors? Can they help us grow in more concrete ways? And lastly, I would say, do you have any alternative to go to investors at an early stage? Could you be customer finance? I would say that most argue that no, not at this early stage. We're in very early prototype stage. There are no customers that are willing to pay for this. But yes, I see evidence here and there in very different industries that there are customers who actually are willing to pay for something that they are not sure what it is. I mean, it's an investment for them. If presented to them in an understandable way, so that they see the real benefit of investing a little bit into prototype development that will make them have for example, the first customer's advantage of using this product. So I would say customer financing is the best financing. It keeps you free and not limited to giving away power to shareholders that in the end maybe vote against you if you're not lucky enough to have met the best investors. So these are things that I recommend people in general that start their business to think about. Also, we have seen a lot of statistics on women as entrepreneurs have odds against them to raise money, and also people who come from backgrounds where they don't have connections to the investors. So there is a lot of judgment from investors that may be contributing to a landscape that is not sustainable in terms of diversity. Also, this is not something that the entrepreneurs themselves can control, but when you meet investors, I would say that look for the forums that have some sustainability focus, or that actually where we can see that this is a better environment. And of course, I know the climate out there for entrepreneurs is very tough at the moment, raising capital. So it's not easy. It's not that you can choose among many different investors that want to invest in your business, but nevertheless, don't be trapped into negative spiral, I would say. So the third part of this is diversity from the start. Why true diversity starts with ownership and governance, not just hiring. And what do I mean by that? I mean that in order to become diverse, you need to think of all the structures in your company and think about it from the beginning, because it is in the beginning the founders, maybe if you're 4 founders or 2 founders, you already then set the culture, whether it's conscious or not so conscious, it just happens. But nevertheless, you do set the culture, and sooner or later you need to find someone for your board or advisory board if you grow. And maybe if you look at it from a perspective, try not to recruit the people that are most convenient for you because you know them. They are a friend of a friend or friend of a family member or someone that is one of your investors. Think of when you recruit to the board, think of it as a recruitment. Make a profile. What is the wished profile in the board? Well, we need a profile, for example, that knows the industry, that knows customers that we are interested in. Maybe we need someone that can complement us in marketing because we know nothing about marketing. Or maybe someone who's really sharp on supply chain because we don't know anything about that. And try to find people that are diverse, because you will sooner or later need this composition of people, because not only to fulfill some criteria so that you get compliance from different places where you look for money, but also because it is not sustainable to only represent a part of the population. And also a very heavy weighing fact is that diverse organizations, not only on the leadership level, but also on the board level, have proven to be more innovative. They have less they have more employee engagement. They have a better profitability. So if no other argument bites, then think of this, because I think that you want to see your company prosper. And also don't fall into the trap that I've seen several have done, that when you want to become a part of an incubator, you need to have a mixed team because that's what they require. So you're 4 guys, 4 white males, and you need to have a woman in place. You place her as a CEO, and you're not giving her the same amount of shares as the rest of you have. I have seen this, and ownership and equity distribution is really crucial, because I wouldn't say that it's true equality otherwise. So I pasted in this graphic, just maybe it's very small to see, but it's how you become diluted. When you have your first round, the seed round, you have maybe then 30% ownership as a CEO, you have 30% as a co-founder, and so on. Then in the Series A, you get diluted, and the investors, the shift goes from you to the investors. And the Series B and Series C, if you come that far, you get more and more diluted, and the people who already are owning less in the beginning, they will be so diluted that they don't feel any motivation any longer to work in the company, perhaps. So consider this when you hire, when you check for co-founders, check outside your own comfort zone, outside your own network. Try to be structured and create profiles of what is it actually that we need, what competencies do we need, and what personality also do we need. Because when building the culture, you need to think about, is it a welcoming culture? Is it a culture that is open to ideas? What is our vision? Does the culture align with our vision? If not, how can we make this happen? So be very open about it. Together, you need to look at this and talk about this very early on, and why not put it in your business plan? So I made a little checklist for you. This handout will be sent to you afterwards, so you don't have to memorize it. But it's a checklist for a sustainable startup. So first of all, in your organization, check how diverse are you today? Ownership, leadership team, board composition, and make an action list. If you are not equal today, what is required? And how can you shape your company culture consciously? And also think about, if you don't do this, what can happen? Then when it comes to product, when you introduce something to the market, how can you minimize your footprint in all the aspects that I described earlier? Did you design it for circularity? In which aspects? Have you considered other aspects? Can you reuse the product in your current business setup, or will it need adjustments? And also when it comes to investors, did you do your due diligence of your investors? Are they driven only by profit or something bigger? And also discuss among you, what risks do you see with taking in investors? And can you finance your startup in other ways? There are many grants out there. Probably you have already applied and received some of them, but consider also, how can we make customers pay even in this early stage for early prototypes, because it is possible. And get help to do the business development of that if you can't solve it yourself. So I think that we can take questions now, Caroline, or have a discussion. Maybe you also prepared some questions.
Thank you so much, Astrid. Let's open the floor to our guests. Do we have any questions? Is it really necessary to have funding from exterior partners instead of finding your own clients? I mean, that could be an option. And you mentioned briefly that in some cases you even see that they find clients from the start that are willing to invest in R&D, etc. Could you mention something more about that, please?
Yeah, of course it depends very much of your industry and what type of customers you have and what type of product. So it's hard to generalize, but I would say that anyone can try to see how can we monetize this in an early stage. For example, I always advise that when you do the innovation process, when you do the prototype, you should always have very close contacts with your future customers to really understand their needs, interview them, have a few customers that you can dare be transparent with, and build up a very good relationship and understand their needs in depth. because that will save you a lot of money instead of sitting at your bench and guessing. Most engineers actually that I have met that are running startups, they have been sitting on their own and developing for too many hours without talking to customers. And that can be very costly. I mean, it's their own time. They spend a lot of years, some of them, in their own workshop and designing and spending money, but most of the time spending their own time without any salary, working in the evenings, and then just to realize that, wow, my prototype was not interesting for the customers because they have shifted towards another field or some other competitor, or they don't have this need any longer, or they are not willing to pay the amount of money that this one would cost, or they just wish to have gotten to know me earlier so that they could have told me this and this important. This goes also for suppliers, because when you're at the stage of going from prototype to production, many that I meet have missed to talk to suppliers in the meantime. So they realize that, oh, these drawings that I made, this prototype that I made, it's not translatable into serial production. We need to redo it, and then that can be really costly and back the tape years.
Thank you. So I think it's very interesting to learn more about how to think in terms of sustainability in startup. But I had one last question then. For those in the audience who have made a great idea but haven't taken the first step yet, what would their first step be now after this webinar when they are so inspired by everything you said?
Oh, well, first of all, I think consider some of the things that I've written down. Like in the beginning, I wrote, is my product really sustainable? Is it really solving some really big impact problem, whether it's for humanity or for the planet? That is number one. And number two is, do we have what customers have we identified? What is the market? And go out there and try to meet those. And if it's consumers, if your product is to end consumers, then go out and find some people that can be your focus group. If it's B2B, try to find some early adopters, some customers that are willing to discuss with you and help you innovate. But I think that's the key message here is that sustainability, it needs to be considered in all the aspects. So use the checklist and look at the 9 R's, for example, of circular economy. You can also look at Exponential Roadmap. They're an organization that have very handy material. So I think that you need to consider many things, but of course also I would suggest that you, if you haven't already, seek up a business incubator and see if you can get some meeting time with them, and possibly you can join the incubator. That's very helpful.
Thank you. That's brilliant tips in order to get started when you have a good idea then. So I would like to thank you very much, Astrid, for taking your time to be here with us today, and also to all our kind people and interested people in the audience who have been with us. Hi, Enrique. You want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. Thank you. And from just to so you are aware of the impact you have. For example, on our side, we have a startup for a shrimp farming company, intensive tree farming. So we are looking into investors. We have several years of developing the technology and proofing, but now we want to scale or complete production, scale production. We developed the technology. Now we need, investment to consolidate on a commercial level. So that's something we're looking at. And thank you for your talk. It was very interesting. I heard about the 5 R's, but I hadn't heard about 9 R's. That's a lot of R's. And we will check what is that about.
Yeah, I have it as a last slide actually in my presentation. Let's see if I can bring it up. I stopped sharing, I think. No? I am sharing.
No, it is. Yes.
Yes. So here. Can you see it? So
right.
First, this is a hierarchy. So you should go from top to down. So first of all, refuse. I mean, that means that if it's not necessary to develop this product and enter it into market, don't do it. Reduce. Yeah, I think it speaks for itself. Reuse. Also, design for circularity. It can be both rental, but also secondhand market. Repair comes as a lower step because repair is when the product is closing in on the end of life of the life cycle. Okay. So if repair is the only option, then fine, but it's much better to do the other. Refurbish is even worse, but still better than nothing. Remanufacture and repurpose to find some other life for the product. Recycle should come as a really last resort, and recover. So the last part of the waste hierarchy is not even in there, but it's to get the energy from it by burning. I mean, that's the final step. Instead of going to landfill, then, but it's not a good alternative. So then when you design, try to be on the top of the waste hierarchy.
Great, thank you. Thank you for your insights and sharing your experience. Thank you, EWB.
Thank you for joining.
I would also just like to tell you that we have many other interesting seminars this week. And there's another chance on Thursday to listen to Astrid when she's talking about mitigating business risks in an uncertain world. And all of this you can find on our webpage. And we would just like to thank you all so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.